Well, welcome one, welcome all, and good evening to you all, wherever you are on the face of Africa. We're happy again that you've given us some time to spend with you here on a wonderful evening on the beautiful continent of Africa, where the sun kisses the skin of his own children. We're excited again one more time to welcome you on your program, Sankofa, looking backwards at the future. Your host, MAPHONGA J, and tonight will be quite unique. As I've decided, maybe it's high time once in a while, in the midst of us inviting many guests who come to our show, and we have conversations around a long and a huge tapestry of conversations. And I would want us just maybe to have a quick summary of what we have been working with on the month for women month that has just gone past, the month of August. We started off this journey and I hope my guys in the back there will be able to pick up some few pieces and having some showcases of some of the programs that we actually ran here on the show. The first one that we did was actually Women's Health, where Gogo Mvoko was here with us on the show, and she was taking us through the issues of women's health, the yoni chair, and how women can keep their own female health as good as possible, looking at ancient methods at which women were able to look after themselves and look after their own health. And in as much as right now one of the biggest businesses running is the gynecological business, where doctors and medical people are tampering with the female health of our own African women. We are not saying there's anything wrong with that, but we are saying wisdom says take a little bit of the past, take a little bit of the present, and focus into the future. And if you are not aware, sometimes in the midst of the excitement of the moment, you may find that you overexpose yourself to some technical and technological medicinal or medical practices, which might end up having a long-term and side effects along your body. And the second week, then we looked at African calendar. We were privileged enough on that day when we had Mkulu Singisa from the Zinzi Foundation taking us through the cycle again, the cycle of the African calendar, the seasons of Africa, and how that affects our lives, how that affects our diet, how that affects our planting and our harvesting. And when Africa at one time was in sync with seasons, our Christmases are not where they're supposed to be. All this rubbish and nonsense of Easters, all this nonsense of Christmases and these bunnies and Halloween nights and Father's Days, Mother's Days, nonsense that is populated the African calendar. Even now, this month is always being called the cultural month, Africa month, cultural month. Who the hell does the West think they are, that you must tell the African once a year, one month in a year, now you can be your own culture? We want to celebrate our culture throughout the whole year. So Mkulu Singisa came on show and he started taking us through what it means for us to go back into the greater Kemetic calendar. And we challenge you, go back into the Galaxy Universal Network YouTube channel and the Facebook channel. Scroll back in some of these videos and freshen up your mind. Remember that you forget. You must remember that you will not remember. So go back again and freshen up your mind, and go back there. You find a video that we did, a full program that we did with Mkulu Singisa, summarizing for us. It was a high level. I think during this month, all things being equal, we may actually ask for him again to come back again and teach us much more elaborately along the issues of the African calendar. Where do we start and how do we start, and how does Kemet actually become our heartbeat? How our women's cycles, monthly cycles, are actually linked up to the moon and the circulation of the moon itself. And very important to me and exciting, which I picked up from him also, is that if you spend 9 months, if not 10 months, in your mother's womb, then why do you celebrate your birthday once every 12 months when the cycle of life is actually punctuated between 9 and 10 months? So are you sure that when you celebrate your birthday every 12 months, you are actually celebrating your real birthday, or you are celebrating colonial birthdays? And is your birthday every 12 months, or is your birthday every 9 or every 10 months? Those are questions that you need to start asking yourself, so that when you get in touch, in sync with your greater calendar of life, you can actually begin to appreciate the greater expanse of life. Then I think the third program, we had some poetry here and spirituality, how in the African culture poetry actually speaks to our own spirituality, and how in ancient times we had our poets, we had our musicians, we had our royalties, we had our healers. The community was in sync because all these various fraternities were feeding into each other. So when people look at the ancient times, they just think it's just a king marrying wives. And you forget that in the midst of this community, you actually had key strategic positioned people who all functioned together to make sure that the community itself was actually functional, progressive, and very much developing. So poetry forms a critical part of the entire community itself, and we express ourselves through our totems, we express ourselves through our music, through our rituals. We're able to come back and ululate and celebrate, including the preservation of names. The preservation of our own culture is found in these very names. Then we did women and African culture also. The king came back, he took us through the burial rituals. We also took why women stay in abusive relationships. And number 9, we intra-sex, if you remember very well, where those two young ladies, young lady, they refused to be called male or female because they were born with both parts, male and female. Then what do you call them? And we had a discussion around that on the intra-sex. African language and spirituality was another interesting conversation we had, in literature. The role of young traditional leaders in the community, music and African spirituality, women in media and business, if you remember that lady who came here to take us through women in media and business, Christianity and tradition. Oh well, I think that was one of the lectures that I did there that caused quite a riff-raff on the media space here. We also did young writers in Africa, fashion and African spirituality, and as of the last week that we had Mavu Gushumo from Kenya, from Congo, who was taking us through the greater space of Lumumba and how, again, literature and language can be preserved in the greater African space. As of this last one that we had, it was fashion and spirituality. We concluded yesterday with King Bungane taking us through how to build a palace and how you in the palace must also be running and building your own homes. And one thing I picked up, don't talk to your women and your children as a man while you are standing. Please learn to sit down. People must sit down and we have conversations together. And for tonight, just to pick up the tempo again, since it is a cultural month, and Africa is celebrating Mkulu gift, Ombethe is in the house, and you'll be taking us through some paces on the space of spirituality. This is his 3rd appearance on the show. Don't go away. We'll be with him right after the break.
Hello. Being a legal practitioner in South Africa in these challenging times demands lawyers that will help clients beyond legal issues. The ever-changing demands in commerce and tourism require lawyers who have sound and clear business and commercial knowledge, and that's where MB Chabangu Incorporated comes in. Our business, mining, tourism, health, labor, and economic knowledge encapsulated with law and litigation experience gives us an advantage in the legal sphere. Our experience in assisting businesses, government, and various industries with their needs puts us amongst the many progressive and striving law firms in South Africa. Now, to contact our attorneys for assistance with any of the mentioned fields and others, please call us on 012-341-4187 or send us an email on admin@chabangu.co.za. MB Chabangu Incorporated, where problems meet solutions.
Feel the heat.
Hold on. To make it through this journey alive, you're gonna need someone to teach you the ninja way.
Don't just stand there, kill someone! Feel the excitement. Feel the heat with StarSat. Challenge your ordinary. Experience the extraordinary.
Not only the government, the municipality here has had no plan.
Now, I believe that my peace is my most valuable asset.
Absolutely beautiful! This is exactly what I was looking for! DJ Khaled!
It is
is a day to celebrate.
We're ready for action.
I like it when it's nice and soft. Yeah, that is nice.
How was it like growing up in Nigeria? Yes, sir, you know what it is.
Feeling is there that, you're doing something special.
Stop being so dramatic, Mira.
You should just be what you want to be.
Experience the extraordinary with StarSat.
China saying that the latest outbreak is under control.
Feel the heat.
The cabinet has decided to ease restrictions on certain other economic activities.
I don't want to be a white person who sits by and does nothing, so that's why I'm here today.
Feel the excitement.
We are here to unite because what we are fighting for is to stop institutional racism.
Feel the heat with StarSat.
We want to welcome you all one more time, and our guest has walked into the studio. The room is getting much warmer here. We're all excited. He's not new to the show. Umkhulu Ombethe uGift Majodina. He's an elder brother to me. I'm learning quite a lot from him. But we also want maybe to explore one or two things, maybe just for him to introduce us to the concept of the African culture. This month is supposed to be a month which is infiltrated with Africans trying to celebrate themselves. So people will be buying pieces of cloth, hanging them on their shoulders. And then I'm Zulu, I'm Shangani, I'm Venda. You know, what does the Africa Cultural Month maybe mean to you as an indigenous practitioner?
Once again, hello to your viewers out there.
They're your friends now.
Yeah, and thank you very much, because I've been following on the social media spaces, and I'm appreciating the commentary that I've been getting in regards to our contribution, you know. And
they love you. They actually say I must bring you here more often. And they want you to talk more.
I really appreciate that. But I also want our people to also understand, Master J, that we do not do these things for the likes and the followings and etc. etc. This is not what we are here for.
Yes, sir.
We are here to restore us. We are here to restore what it is that we believe has been lost to us. And which now links us to the question that brings us here today, asking what is then cultural, and why is it that we have to set up a month to
celebrate ourselves.
To celebrate ourselves, you know what I mean? And where something was supposed to be a daily practice.
You have Africa Month for African culture. Show me on the same calendar the European month.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Why must the African have a day? Now this is segregation. If Africa must be given one day a month, and we believe in democracy, we also need one day a year where the European must also be, and one day for the Indians.
Unless the obvious question that is not being asked is the one that is happening, that we are on some other people's timelines.
You catch me right on my track right there.
Because this is what it is, and unfortunately, we just have to set up these days. But for what it's worth, let's use them. Okay. Let's use them. In this sense, Master J, to say now, when the African comes to the understanding of celebrating their culture, we have to understand certain milestones or pillars that are inherent in that, so that one can say, I am an African perhaps in this manner and that manner and so on. And one of the first things coming into that would be to say, we are celebrating Cultural Month around September. And that for us now, we will link it to what does September mean and what is the relevance.
Go to town. It's your turn.
Yes, so now, we understand that the African are people who follow the patterns of nature. We follow the patterns of nature, and patterns of nature is not only the patterns of nature, but it's also the patterns of the galactic space, or the universal framework in which time and events and seasons are affected. You know what I'm saying? And now, because now we, within the Christian space, we would say, let thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So where the African always understood that as a way of life. There is a heaven. There is a heaven.
There is
and there's earth.
As real as earth.
Of course.
So the heavens are also real.
So now, what do we say? We're saying now, when the galaxy or when the universe is also in its own dance.
Dancing.
While it's in its own dance, there's also a dance that is happening on earth that is also reflected. So now the African now comes to these times, now which times some people may ask out there, and then we would look at the equinoxes and the solstices. Now there are pertinent rituals that
unlock the gates,
that unlock these particular gates
and align
within the circle of the movement of life, as it were. You know what I'm saying? So now we are celebrating Cultural Month corresponding with where we are going now on the 21st, 22nd of September, which is aligning with the spring equinox.
Where the sun is coming back now.
Because it died during the 20th of June. It died, and it was the dark night. You get what I'm saying? So now we're coming back into the light. You see what I'm saying? So now when we understand these cycles, when we understand how we are supposed to align ourselves, then we will begin to understand why do we need to celebrate our culture. You get what I'm saying? Because now culture is informed by so many things. It is informed by so many things, and we have to understand now the cosmological thinking of an African soul, so that he can better align themselves in understanding why these moments, not only that, but carrying some of these aspects into our daily lives.
Because while you're on that, it's important. People could be asking out there, okay, we hear you mention the June, we hear you mention in September, but basically as an African, what are some of the rituals? What are some of the festivities, or some of the demonstrations that an African must actually find themselves participating in, either to bid farewell to the sun as it is going to the north, or welcoming it back as it is coming to the south, in a basic home, without necessarily huge cultural but what are some of the basic functions or positioning or cleansing or preparation that an African must actually say during this month of September, now that the sun is coming back, when it is finally shining, it must find me in this condition. You don't want to be found with no clothes on. When the sun is now shining and you're still naked. The night is over. The day is upon us.
Togos. Mkolo. And this is when now we start to somewhat differ, if you want to look at it like that. But I'd like to celebrate it as our diversity, where now all rituals, from a family point of view, all rituals ought to point us in the same direction, or are to align us to the same direction. So now, what do we mean by that? We mean that Now, if we are going to say we are coming into the era or the season or the time of the spring equinox, we would look at the characteristics that are inherent within
with the spring.
With the springtime.
I saw my grass is beginning to get green. My trees are beginning to show some buds.
Because now we are also getting ready for the planting seasons and all of those things. You get what I'm saying? So now these are some of the things that, because now, before we even celebrate it, we also have to understand how the African homestead is built, Master J, where now umsamo becomes the central point. Now is the umsamo inside the house, and then there's the isbaya on the outside. You know what I'm saying? Which now also facilitate different rituals. So now, when we come now to our altars or to endaweni la sikhuluma khona namathonga mkhulu nabantu abadala, so some of the things that are inherent within this time frame are the things that we ought to bring. You get what I'm saying? Where we're also setting a tone for the coming season. But now, where I would also, where you mentioned, where we would like to begin is at that point where we are saying, we have to begin to cleanse ourselves. We have to begin to cleanse ourselves internally and externally, Master J, because there's a saying that we would like to say that during the summer days, all mad people show up. Okay. Because during the winter,
springtime. It's true. It's true. During this springtime,
it's why? Because it was suppressed.
They were suppressed.
Everything was suppressed. Now everything's going to begin to blossom, and those who are hiding,
they start coming out.
Then they start coming out.
That's a bit scary, but true.
But it's true.
I've heard that.
And these are some of the times when we are saying now, when families understand that most of our rituals should be aligned with the central point of where we are moving as an entire consciousness of people. Not necessarily individuals or tribal or family.
Collective.
You get what I'm saying? Because now we have... after some time, certain cultures or certain traditions get adopted along the way, where now the matriarchs or the patriarchs of that family now begin to have certain interactions with the ether, and then they would add certain things within the bloodline, which now would now begin to make us to differ with certain things. But at the core of it, all of this needs to align us at where the movement of life is at that moment in time. This is when we can say we are aligned. So now, because we understand that they are guardians of these gates, Master J. Tina sizoti ngamadlozi. But they are guardians of these gates. Now, when you would come at it from a personal point of view or from a family point of view, say, siyenzela amadlozi umsebenzi noma siyenzela abantu abadala umsebenzi. You get what I'm saying? Because now there are certain rituals that are for perhaps during this time of the spring equinox.
I like what you're saying because it changes the whole conversation. As of Nkosi Pungane said something very profound when he said people kill cattle and what and say babulalela madlozi. But akuladlozi elinyama. These guys are in the spiritual realm. So the whole issue of this ancestral or amadlozi connection, I think what I'm hearing you mentioning is alignment. It's seasonal alignment, more than you trying to manipulate. It's actually you who must be aligned. Someone is in the midst of evil. Now they want Madlozi to support them in the evil, instead of them aligning their lives in cleanliness and purity, so that you can access the blessings of the season.
Because that's why we are saying, Master J, that they are guardians. They are guardians of these gates. And how we come into these gates is important. It's important how we come to these gates. That's why now, during this time, some of us will go through certain cleansings. You get what I'm saying? Preparing, obviously, for the next season. And like I'm saying, we have to prepare internally and externally. In other words, detox. Rebuild this body. Re-energize the energy.
As the trees are also beginning to blossoming, you also need to start...
consciousness also does the same.
Even in terms of business, I want us to convert this science, because for me, you guys are in the depth of science. Because if you don't know how the seasons are working, you'll be planting in winter, for example. And your seeds die in the ground. But when you begin to see nature around you beginning to show you signs that the ground is getting fertile, the rains are coming. So even in terms of investment, we need to invest also looking at the movement. So because what is happening externally and what is happening internally and what is happening galactically, it all works in unity and in harmony. If that makes sense.
No, that's on the nail. That is on, I mean, at the end of the day, what do we mean when we are saying our lives are in sync, Master J? We are saying that everything that is because it must be. So in other words, if there are certain, in this instance, planetary alignments of some sort that are aligning themselves in a particular manner, and understanding that when we are looking at some of these objects, we're not looking at just stones and bricks, but we are looking at a consciousness. We are looking at beings, people. You got what I'm saying? Because now you have to, like I'm saying, when the African has fully come to themselves, their level of perception far exceeds this mediocrity.
Scientific, this academic, Eurocentric academic.
This is what I'm saying. When we are going to look at a planet, we are looking at an actual being. We are looking at someone that we can communicate with.
We're looking at the sun, it's alive.
It's a
looking
being.
At the moon.
Thus you will have now the ancient Kemetans, where they will give names to the sun to say this is Ra. Or
that's how I ended up as Marara.
Where now we understood these beings. We understood these beings and we understood who we were. Because as much as they are part of that galaxy, we are also galactic beings, intergalactic beings. So now when the African begins now to align from their central place or their home, not only are they having communion with their ancestors at the most basic level, but they are also having communion with the galaxies.
Ladies and gentlemen, the galaxy is watching us. The sun and the moon are watching us. Maybe some of you are Christians. You can read the Bible that says the moon will not hurt you by night, nor the sun by day. No, the question is, how does the moon hurt anybody? So your own Bible actually even acknowledges that these beings that are in the sky, they can actually cause you harm in the day or in the night. When we come back, I want us to go a little bit deeper and transcend into these spaces and gates of universal African spirituality and what happens exactly. We'll be back right after this break.
Hello. The fourth industrial technology era has forcefully changed how every profession has been working for its clients. The world has become smaller than what we used to think. Imagine the ease of talking to a person who is in Australia, China, or Germany while you are in South Africa, as if you're just next door. The ease that globalization and the fourth industrial technology have brought to humanity entail doing business anywhere in the world as long as you have the purpose and the means. It is our expertise as MAPHONGA Incorporated to advise clients immigrating to South Africa on various permits and on opportunities for travelers who intend to sojourn in South Africa for a longer period of time.
Ayé náà ti kéré ju èyí tí a rò lọ. Nítorí náà ìmọ̀ wa ní ìsìlọ̀ àti òfin àgbáyé ṣe wá ní ọ́fíìsì àkókò lórí àwọn ìṣòwò ilé àti ìgbaniláyé láti gba ìwé ìrìnnà fún iṣẹ́ òkòwò.
Ho MAPHONGA Incorporated re ba eletsi dinotari le basebedisi le di office tsa rena kwa Pretoria, Johannesburg le Bloemfontein. MAPHONGA Incorporated e humanega ga bonolo go bareki ba rena. Go humana tlhagiso leseding ka botlalo re kgopela le re leletse mogala go 012 341 4187 go ba le re ngwalele lengwalo tsebile go admin@chabangu.co.za. MAPHONGA Incorporated mo mathata a humanago tharollo.
Feel the heat.
Hold on. To make it through this journey alive, you're gonna need someone to teach you the ninja way.
Don't just stand there, kill someone!
Feel the excitement. Feel the heat.
I'm an ardent student of psychology, an ardent student of philosophy, and even also metaphysics. And what has made it more exciting for me is that at a very early age, I went to study theology. And yes, I'm a qualified minister, so to speak. Now you read these verses when you are in an academic space. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And you are there looking at serious information. You are looking at body of content, of metaphysical epistemologies, mega information. But because you're in a hurry for doctrine, you undermine all that. Right. You read throughout your Bible, then the story says to Abraham, count the stars. Those will be your children. Okay? Interesting. Then you read a few verses later, then Jesus is born somewhere, and then the Bible says, and the wise men from the east were following a star. Now, just maybe start off by explaining to me how big is a star? And when a star breaks into our own solar system,
oh God,
what happens there? And what were they following? Maybe that's the right question.
That is the big question. That is the big question. Because now, if you just stand outside, Master J, and just look at the sky. There is no star that moves. It just doesn't move.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So if you see a moving star there, what is it that you are really seeing? You know what I'm saying? So now, when we now look at it in terms of mass and all of those things.
Size.
They'll tell you that even the smallest star can come and crush this whole planet.
The Earth is like a speck of dust. Immeasurable.
You get what I'm saying,
now, when you say a star came and they were following a star.
And it was moving at a slow pace that these men could follow.
Oh, man.
They were not looking at a star.
Oh, man.
There was something else that they were looking at. But nonetheless, we want to grab it at this point that to say within the context of that, why is the stars being mentioned in a book that tells us never to look at those kind of things, because now
they're supposed to be demonic. They're supposed to be astrology, according to Christianity, astrology and all these things of the stars, these are for the devil. You know what I'm saying? And even the Bible says, when it comes to astrology, don't consult anything. And yet you find that the crux of the text itself.
The master himself, as he comes in the story leading to Bethlehem, talking about them following the star. Why make the connection between a master with a paganistic sign? That does not make sense. That does not make sense unless there is something that you are not telling us. You get what I'm saying? Now we ask the question, who are these three wise men? Who are they? Where do they come from? And where is the East? Now, when you go into the esoteric studies, now they will tell you that these men were astrologers themselves. They studied the stars. They studied and they could tell that according to certain alignments. So when they were following the star,
was following a timetable.
They were following a certain alignment to say a certain being
is born. And is connected.
And is connected
to the star.
To a particular alignment.
Let's go nicely. Let me speak like a theologian. Then the cosmos, the abstract, led them to the concrete. You know what I'm saying? The star, which is actually out in the cosmos, moved to align people with the physical space. And on top of the manger, there it stopped.
You get what I'm saying?
And then there was music. Then the angels started singing, and the voice was heard from heaven.
And we would ask, who are the angels? It's nice to call them Gabriel. It's nice to call them Uriel and all of them. And there are many of them. There's
mega millions
of all of these names ending with L. You know what I'm saying? There are many of them, and some of them are children to us. But they are just babies. But anyway, within the archangel realm, you are dealing with some of these beings who are communicating through signs in the sky or signs in nature.
Let me be mischievous. Let me be mischievous, just for fun. A man by the name of Daniel is praying. And he's fasting. He's fasting for 21 days. And there he's praying and he's calling on the Lord. And the Lord is not coming through for 21 days. On the 21st day, then the black book says, and the angel came. And says, I've just come to give you news that you are greatly beloved. And in the midst of you being greatly beloved, I have some news for you. I was supposed to be here on the first day that you started praying. But while I was on my way to you, there were obstructions in the other realm. So that I could not be here on time because there were other angels or from darkness that were blocking my movement. Now, I want to say this nicely, not in a bad way. Is it possible that Christianity, while we are bowing down and we are praying, in our consumption of the physical, that we actually lose the bigger picture, that what we are whispering in our corners is actually affected by that which is in the cosmic space?
To come in there, Ketla, these are some of the, to put it more bluntly, spells that have been put on our people that we are here to remove. Because now they've kept us in a loophole. They've kept us in a particular. It's a prison that you cannot see.
Dungeon.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Because now it doesn't allow your consciousness to
even
expand.
your mind.
You understand what I'm saying? It doesn't
there.
allow.
It's written. It's there.
It's there.
But you can't see it.
But it's locking you down in a particular frame of mind or frame of thinking, where now other possibilities become close to you. So someone will always remain a god to you. Someone who will come and enter into that space will know things about you and predict you and be able to profile you.
Read you.
And read you.
Read your star.
Before we even get to the realm of the God. Before we even get there.
If you understand the star, you understand the man.
You understand the man, Master J. Because and I hope they can hear me out there.
I'll say it again. If you understand the star, you understand the man. The three wise men, by being able to read a star, they were able actually to come up with a profile and a CV as to who was born, where were they born, what is their mission. Let's go there and find them, and here are the gifts that we must carry for him. Imagine.
And mind you, these gifts are also metaphysical keys.
There you go now.
But we're not going to go into that. We're not in that class for now.
Yeah.
But there's a reason why they
I think we must just come back one day and we have this beautiful spiritual, theological, esoteric conversation and demystify some of these things.
Because Master J, some people would tend to think to see Zangoma, we understand nothing about the scripture. Master J, I'm an anointed pastor myself.
All right.
Under the apostolic faith.
Okay.
But that is as far as I wanted to go in terms of that movement. So when we're going to discuss these matters of Christian belief and the nitty-gritties, we can come and sit on this table anytime.
It has been nice today. It has been nice today. I'm enjoying pulling your leg here and there, you know.
Because why, Master J? I, for one, in my personal space, with the Christian doctrine. It's part of it became part of our culture at some point. But I learned to align it. I learned to find its proper sequence so that I can better understand that when I'm reading the scripture, what is it that I'm really reading? Because most of the people are just reading this word, and if you could understand it from a metaphysical point of view, that there's the veil behind these scriptures. There's veils behind the scriptures where the master will say, why do you teach in parables? And he would say, to those who understand will hear me, that I am speaking certain keys of the kingdom. You get what I'm saying? And that
which are not revealed to everybody.
They are not.
They hear me, but they don't understand.
They will not.
They see, but they don't perceive.
They cannot perceive. You get what I'm saying? So again, we only give milk to children and then meat to the elders.
Let me become the pastor just for today. You know, become the pastor and have fun here. We all love this scripture because it shows to us what the human body and what the human being, when he's correctly aligned,
by it,
the miracles that they can perform, or the demonstrations.
By it.
You look at the story of Moses, for example,
by it,
and the spells that he threw on Egypt. I saw a cartoon actually in the course of the week that made me laugh. Pharaoh was looking like this, and he's saying, "You guys are just complaining with one pandemic, which is just corona. I had 10 of them." You know what I'm saying? But you're looking at a man who touches the water and something happens. A man who throws his rod and it becomes a snake. A few days later, there are locusts, there's fleas and lice and frogs that are coming out from the Nile. You look at a man picking up his stick, touching the waters are parted. You look at a man striking a rock and water comes out, and people singing, you know, around the city, and the city collapses, for example. And you look at all this metaphysics. Elijah, for example, about what Africans are witches because we can call the rain. You know, here is Elijah standing on the side of the mountain, and he calls the fire in the afternoon, And in the evening, he is calling for the rain.
With wood that has water in it.
Now, when you look at all these emblems, as far as I'm concerned, they are based on the connection when the human body is aligned to the spiritual space. Then the voice changes and stops being human. It starts becoming supernatural.
Ketla, these are some of the things that will inform culture. These are some of the things that will form tradition. These are some of the things that will inform ritual.
And Africans understand that.
We understood these things, and we are just trying to...
That a human being has power over the rain.
We don't have to wait for miracles, Master J.
We can perform those miracles.
This thing of waiting for saviors to come and save us, that whole psychology of someone coming outside of you to come and save you is a disease to us. You get what I'm saying? Because they took that very same element and told you that a power rests with someone outside of yourself. When Source says, I've made you perfect. I have created you perfect.
In my image.
You have all
spirit
things
in you.
All things complete are within you. You get what I'm saying? So now we have to walk around with this cripple mindset that someone has to do these things. Now, where we were saying that when we structured our society, Master J, these are some of the precepts that families would have. You get what I'm saying? That now became their culture or their traditions. You get what I'm saying? Where now we understood that ngesikhathi esithize sinomuntu okanje la ekhaya. Now all the children, all the lentoza and the patriarch of the home will call the children to the homestead, so that now we can perform these rituals and these prayers
and drink together and align.
And the drinking part is part of the festivities. It's part of the
no, I'm saying we're drinking the muti, the potion,
the potion
which
that aligns us.
Yes.
That aligns us as a family. Yes. That keeps us in a particular level of consciousness, whether we are split or whatever. That's why you will find that even during December times, you will find people saying, "Hey, yeah, you know what I'm saying? And when they come back in January, the guy or the girl is strong and is like, you know what I'm saying? And you know what they mean by that. I've gone back home to center myself.
I've been rooted.
I have gone back home to align.
Myself.
I've earthed myself. You know what I'm saying? Because like we said in one of our talks with you, to say that the first institutions that we are sent to as people are our families. That's why we would say, hey, you get what I'm saying? Everybody's got their own thing. And those things were meant to be sacred. Those things were meant to be our power sources.
Bambe, right there. Hold it right there. When we come back after the break, I want us to explore the various levels of spirituality and how we can attain them. From just being physical to being spiritual. And the interaction between physicality and spirituality. After the break.
Hello. The fourth industrial technology era has forcefully changed how every profession has been working for its clients. The world has become smaller than what we used to think. Imagine the ease of talking to a person who is in Australia, China, or Germany while you are in South Africa, as if you're just next door. The ease that globalization and the fourth industrial technology have brought to humanity entail doing business anywhere in the world as long as you have the purpose and the means. It is our expertise as MB Chabangu Incorporated to advise clients immigrating to South Africa on various permits and on opportunities for travelers who intend to sojourn in South Africa for a longer period of time.
ayé náà ti kéré ju èyí tí a rò lọ nítorí náà ìmọ̀ wa ní ìsìlọ̀ àti òfin àgbáyé ṣe wá ní ọ́fíìsì àkókò lórí àwọn ìṣòwò ilé àti ìgbaniláyé láti gba ìwé ìrìnnà fún iṣẹ́ okòwò.
Go MB Chabangu Incorporated re ba eletsi dinotari le basebedisi le di office tsa rena kwa Pretoria, Johannesburg le Bloemfontein. MB Chabangu Incorporated e humanega ga bonolo go bareki ba rena. Go humana tlhagiso leseding ka botlalo re kgopela le re leletse mogala go 012 341 4187 go ba le re ngwalele lengwalo tsebile go admin@chabangu.co.za. MB Chabangu Incorporated mo mathata a humana go tharollo.
Feel the heat.
Hold on. To make it through this journey alive, you're gonna need someone to teach you the ninja way.
Don't just stand man. Kill someone.
Feel the excitement. Feel the heat.
Welcome back again to our wonderful show and to our guest for tonight, Ombethe Gift Majodina, practicing Gobela. He's taking through young students and young people, not young in terms of age, some of them are older than him, but he has spent quite some time in this spiritual space, and tonight has been quite special as I am getting lots of information. It's almost like I feel like I'm in class today. Many people think that they are alive. Many people think that they are alive. And they say they are alive because they eat and they drink and they sleep. And so their function is very, what I might want to call
material.
And then there are those few, once in a while, they move into the realm of dreams and visions, and all of a sudden they become aware that there are other things that are happening in the physical space. Then there are those now who understand and interpret that and constantly live in the spiritual space. And maybe just for this last part, I want you to take me through what is consciousness. Because you cannot just be alive for the sake of eating and drinking and sleeping, and then there's an announcement a few weeks later. We hereby announce the passing away of. Cool. He was fighting and screaming. You know, life is gone. According to you, Chief, take me through, my Lord, take me through, Honorable. What is consciousness?
Mkulu, this is consciousness. The mere fact that we are stretching certain concepts further than what we could conceive them to be at some point. Consciousness is the reason why there's growth. Consciousness is the reason why we can refer to things like eternity, for example. Because consciousness is the one that allows you to even perceive that there's a thing called eternity. And these are philosophical space, but this is consciousness. This is what keeps us alive. Consciousness is the one that is making you understand what I'm saying or what I'm interpreting in terms of my speech to you, in terms of using whatever ether that we are entering into so that we can speak this English, for example. And when I choose to change ether, then I'll speak Zulu. When I choose to change ether, Sotho. When I choose ether, then I'll speak another language. But what I'm saying, all of these are functions within what consciousness allows us in terms of being in this space. So when we are here on this planet, which is a plane, which is a region in the quantum space. By it. It is just a place where we say we are visitors within this time frame, or within this ether, or within this planet, as you want to put it. So when we come in here, we come into a particular expression of consciousness. Thus we would say that the consciousness of the earth differs to the consciousness of heaven, where God says, my thinking is not like your thinking, because my thinking is heaven.
Heaven is higher.
You get what
and
I'm saying?
Say, where I am here, there's no sun, there's no moon. You know, and here we are being controlled by the sun and the moon.
You get what I'm saying? And already those things should inform you of how this consciousness or this plane or this planet or this lifetime is actually functioning within the bigger scope of what we would call life. You get what I'm saying? Within this whole concept. So now this whole thing, we end here, you know, because Master J, to come back, because we're talking realms, we're talking different heavens and so-called. Coming from a Christian background, I had two dimensions in my thinking. There's heaven
and hell,
and there's earth.
Okay.
hell is the variant of heaven.
Okay.
If I'm not going to heaven, you know, but there's only two planes. It's only earth
and heaven.
And heaven.
And
heaven is a place where now there's singing and there's joy.
People are singing holy, holy,
and I was like, yo, I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there.
It's boring.
Like, yo, I could just do that here.
Yeah.
I could just sing and dance and do whatever instead of now waiting to go and do that there. Like, come on, guys. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now the first thing now when we start interacting with so-called heaven, I meet people in different planetary systems or galaxies or dimensions. And I'm having a conversation with these people and I'm saying, am I dead? Am I in heaven?
Am I alive?
Is this heaven? And then they will tell me, no, it's another
place.
It's another door in heaven. So now when I listen to the master quote say, in my Father's house there are many rooms.
Now you understand.
Now you understand that there are...
And actually the book of Enoch goes to length, including the book of the dead, which is the book of the living.
Book of the living.
Yeah. And where it actually says, when people, then I was taken, this is the watcher, then I was taken into plains, where I saw thousands of people who had died, where they are being kept, their souls are there, and what and what. And these are some of the books that were removed from the canon itself, which explain the understanding of the African, theories, mysteries.
What they would call myths.
Yeah.
Mythologies and all of those things. And I would tell every African out there, please go study your myths. Go study your mythology, because that is where our answers are. But you will also need to purify yourselves to even understand them, because they're also hidden in plain sight to us. You know, they've never been lost. That's why we are saying, come back to your culture. But people don't understand what we are saying when we are saying that. And by just coming with some of these ideas, we are saying, look further. Look deeper into these things. Look further than just saying my totem is a lion. There's a reference to that lion in terms
both on earth and in the stars.
You understand what I'm saying?
The clan of the lions is actually linked up to the cosmos. Huh?
So now we ask the question, then now that some people find themselves in so-called dreamland and they are being chased by spirits or tagati or whatever,
snakes and
whatever
stuff.
it is, and then they would come back and say, yesterday I went so and so and so and so, or to such and such and such and such. The difference between me and that person as a seer or as a trained spiritualist is the fact that I can enter into those spaces consciously.
Wow.
While they can't. It has to happen automatically, if you want to put it like that, as an exercise of sleeping and then the next thing. Because now for us, that's
your realm. You live there.
That is the astral plane, as others will call it. You get what I'm saying? That astral realm has...
You move there.
There's movement. There's living. There's decisions to be made. There's influences. Some people, Master J, are being worked in the metaphysical space, and they end up being affected. And then because now I can now go in and then run the timeline.
And say, guys, what's happening up here?
And run the timeline, and then when we get to the timeline, we're like, listen, the alignment is off here.
Yes.
The alignment is off because the timeline is knocking now.
If there is something I've picked up tonight, which is very, very important, is the issue of alignment.
Alignment is the alignment. Why do we practice culture?
To align also.
Why do we practice our traditions, or why do we have allegiance to our traditions and cultures?
I'm looking at it as a stressed person. When you listen to music, then I feel much better. It has nothing to do with you feeling better. It only means that through the music you're listening.
And which part of the music
it has been able
to?
You're cutting short. Tell people at home the show is finished. Tell people at home what they must do during this season.
Honor the seasons.
Honor the seasons.
Align yourself with the seasons and what the seasons represent and mean.
Align yourself with the seasons.
And that will give you what is it that you need to bring to the earth.
Wow, you heard for yourself, Mukuli is coming back. I guarantee you. I'll bring him back again and again. This conversation is not even started yet. It's not even started. We want to unpack this whole concept of Africans who are walking around like zombies. They think they are alive, but they are dead. They are dead. You are dead. Flipping dead. You're only lucky that maggots are not coming out of your ears. But consciousness has to do with you being aware of what's happening around you. Who are you marrying? What are you eating? What are you drinking? And what are these things doing to you in your physical body as they relate to the other heavenly spaces of which you are? That's why your head is always in the sky and your feet must always be on the ground. Your host for tonight, MAPHONGA J Garamboko Garamashamba Huda. Shirara na bana wanji makumbe mwana mwesende weshanu chibwechitedza chinotedzerwa rikure vari pedu vanotamba nacho mutambo uri paro vari vanichigara matanda anovora chirira navana vevanji vachiri vemangora navapfuri vaya. Until we see you again, don't do what I wouldn't do, but if you decide to do it better.